All right. Hi, Coach. How are you doing?
Great, great. How's everybody? So,
We're ready. Yeah, we're ready to go when you are.
yeah, game number 5 of 20, Nebraska. It's coming off a hard-fought win against Maryland, which they all are at this point. I was really pleased with um the job that DeMonte Trent Frazier did defensively in the second half of that game. I thought Kofi was impactful as heck as well. And then the way that those guys had to play in terms of the minutes was something that was unexpected. I didn't plan on that, but again, it was a challenge because it was coming off a quick turn, 1 day prep after 10 days off with COVID. So really proud of the guys for that. And I thought we did some things extremely well in the second half of that game. Kofi was dominant, and then obviously Trent got on one of his little burners. But again, it's now onto a Nebraska team that is over, but is playing and probably could have won a couple of games pretty easily. They're a team that is a veteran team. They've got a lot of guys that we saw last year in a game that was very difficult for us there. And they're one of the top teams in the country in protecting the rim. They'll throw the kitchen sink, I imagine, at Kofi in terms of doubles and triples and whatever. They give up a good amount of threes. But this is a team that is also electric in transition. I think they've got the third fastest length of time in possessions. They shoot it very quick. They're led by an Illinois native at the point. Burge is a guy that's very, very talented, very crafty with the ball. And then a freshman that I think is second or third in the country in freshman scoring in McGowan's. So they're a team that is very, very capable. They shoot it. They're one of the top teams in the country in steals. So they're out there in passing lanes. We've got to be ball tough. And as any other game in this league, on the road, they're all extremely difficult and challenging, and we're going to have to play well.
Hey, Brad, there was a report in The Athletic today that Andre Curbelo could ramp up to being a full participant this week. Do you expect that to be early in the week, late in the week? And I guess what's been the timeline to get him to this point?
That probably won't happen. Again, I think one of the things that we're finding out with this process is you can take a step forward and have a couple steps back, and everything is predicated for him based on based on solely his reaction to how he does in a workout. So and what as we progress forward with his workouts and his conditioning, how he responds. So we'll keep monitoring it. He's had a minor setback, and we'll see what that looks like as we continue to move forward.
I would assume, I mean, we saw, you mentioned you've been able to do some stuff with you guys to this point. That's a step forward. I would assume, what's he been able to do?
Nothing. Everything's based on conditioning. With him, it's been a physical therapy process. It's been just starting with the ball and getting back. We can't do anything with him until he gets back in shape. He's obviously been out a couple of months, and so the conditioning piece has been at the forefront of all this, and trying to get him back that way as well, so we don't create another injury or another problem. So, but he's done very little in terms of actual until actual practice, till actually putting a ball in his hand. He's done very little.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, I know kind of after the Arizona game, you've held teams under 70 points last 4 games. I guess what's kind of been different on that end of the floor, and what's kind of led to kind of different outcomes the last couple of weeks defensively?
Well, fewer scouting report mistakes has been one. And I think secondly, we've gotten very comfortable with the lineup. I think DeMonte Williams deserves a big chunk of that. We know Trent's been there all along. I think we've seen increased focus and much improvement from Plummer on that end. And then I think that the combination of Jacob and DeMonte and Coleman have done a nice job guarding other teams' wing players. And we know that Kofi probably goes unnoticed and not talked about enough for his defensive presence. But again, he's an excellent defender. So I think just collectively as a group, our chemistry's gotten better. We've seen less mistakes from our freshmen when we're playing them. And, those are all positive signs.
Yeah, and then I mean with DeMonte, I guess what kind of goes into preparing him to have him kind of play a lot of times bigger players kind of the 4 spot on defense?
Well, DeMonte's really, really strong. And so his mindset is that anyway. He's a pretty tough kid. He's, he loves that grit and that grind of doing that. And he's also got then the length and the foot speed to be able to guard perimeter players as well. So, his versatility is huge. And now, as a veteran with a lot of experience, he knows what's coming.
Hi, Coach. 4 in a row here and 4-0 in the Big Ten. Is this starting to feel a little bit like last year where you started off a little shaky and then made a big surge in the second half of the season?
No, I haven't even thought about last season, to be honest. I think that every season's got its own identity. Every team has its own issues, positive, negative. All we're trying to do is just simplify, get better every day, create opportunities that allow these young guys to continue to work and get better and try to get guys executing and playing with great chemistry. And that's the biggest challenge. And I don't look back at all on last year. I think there's some, obviously some holdover with Trent and DeMonte in terms of, and Kofi, but the character, the character pieces are what's important, but individually and team wise, they're completely separate.
What do you feel is the ceiling for you guys this year?
I don't know, Doug. I'm just trying to get better every day, and I think that's something that we've got a lot of improvement. We were 8 for 30 the other night from the 3. We didn't shoot it very well. I think as these young guys continue to improve, RJ Melendez, Luke and Pods literally had their best practices here in the last couple of days. They're getting better. They're understanding what, the ability to learn from Trent, the ability to learn from DeMonte, the ability to learn from Jake, and not worry about their own individual stuff all the time, but take what they're learning and seeing every day and then competing against them. They're just naturally going to get better. And as that happens, our team gets better. And so I'm gaining a lot of confidence in those guys as they continue to work and improve.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Brad, you guys haven't been ranked for 6 weeks. I'm sure you don't care about that, but has that been good for your team despite being high in these analytics? Does that fuel your guys, do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably much rather have the analytics than I would the ranking. We pay more attention to those and because those are day to day, those change, and those are things that we can really monitor. You start looking at some of these teams and you start looking at who they've played, and they're 7-0 against, quad 4s or whatever, and they got these daunting records. I don't care. It's all going to play out. All I'm worried about is us and if we get ranked, we get ranked. If not, let's just keep flying under the radar and don't let anybody talk about us. Let them talk about all the other guys that are, they're playing great and doing this. We'll be fine.
It's kind of been a calling card the last 3 teams here, Brad, that your teams play well after some early setbacks. What do you credit that to?
Getting better. I hope we're coaching them. I hope guys understand that this is a process. It's development. To say that I coach differently in November and December. Most years I do. This year was a challenge, but and I always go back to the Rio Grande game. That would have been a day after that game that I would have, in November, I would have grinded on our guys because we stunk. And it was, but you get up, you push them, you drive them after a win, which you don't play well. It gets a little bit different in league play. But you've got to harden your guys. You've got to toughen them up. You got to sharpen them up. And those things we work on early. We work on a lot of different combinations and try to get it right with our bench and everybody else. So, I think that's, if I had any reason, I'd like to win them all, but I get it. But again, I think it's the process.
Thanks, Brett.
Brad, by and large, your team didn't look any worse for wear with the COVID pause in terms of execution. Does it feel like now that's in the rearview mirror in terms to recalibrating with conditioning and all that stuff?
Yeah, I thought it bothered us in the Maryland game. I did. I'm glad it didn't show. I thought we were maybe a little flat emotionally, maybe a little flat mentally, maybe a little fatigued. I thought certain guys maybe weren't as sharp and as on point as they needed to be. But I thought physically we got through some things. Kofi. I never worry about Trent too much. But, I thought I was proud of Kofi to be able to play straight 20 minutes. And, that's okay. The mental piece is as big a part of it as the physical.
Who's it more stressful on when you go through something like this, you as a head coach or your conditioning coach?
I probably make it pretty stressful on Fletch too. So, it's not easy. You got to find that right balance. And again, everybody's different. Trent's different than Kofi and Jake's different, than Luke Goody. So, you've just got to figure out what that piece is and what drives those guys and how much you can push them.
Final COVID question. Michigan's going through their deal. At this point, you're assuming you're playing them on Friday?
Until they tell us different, yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, yeah, you mentioned Trent's heater against Maryland, but does he just have that gear that he can kick into? Is like, I'm not going to let this team lose?
Yeah, it's more mentality. He's got the physical tools to do that. We've all seen that, but I think Trent was one of 7, maybe prior to that. That doesn't mean anything to Trent. That just means he missed a couple shots, and Trent has that unique ability to just absolutely step up and forget what's happened and next shot. And sometimes I've got to do a better job of pushing his buttons and running stuff to him and getting him going. And Trent's always going to do what's asked. He's always going to run the play we call. And sometimes I got to do a better job of calling his number to get him on those.
And then turnovers were down fairly significantly against Maryland. Is there something you've addressed in particular, maybe to rein those in a little bit?
Yeah, we'd have one of the top 5 or 6 offensive efficiencies in the country if we didn't turn those over and didn't turn it over. We're starting to become more ball tough. That's going to be really challenged tomorrow night. I think they're right at 9 steals a game. And again, you can't part of that becomes being comfortable, understanding where opportunities are and what we're doing offensively in our schemes. But I think we're starting to become a little tougher and more assertive with the ball.
Thank you.
Brad, we're about to talk to Omar. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we saw it last year out of Georgie. But can you talk about what you need out of that backup 5 spot behind Kofi to be as good as you need to be?
Yeah, impact. And he's doing that. If you take his defensive metrics and his numbers and analytics, he's excellent, almost up and down the board. We gain when he comes into the game on the defensive side, his versatility, his rim protection. I've got a lot of confidence in him. He's on the offensive end. He's a guy that's probably been impacted the most with Curbelo being out because he's so good in ball screens and catching lobs. And I've got to get back to doing more of that with him. And we have. And he's a guy, again, who's he can finish. He can play above the rim at levels that most people can't. And I thought he's playing his best basketball. But the important thing is he's working as hard as anybody on our team. His work ethic has been relentless, and his time with Fletch is now starting to pay off. And you start to see good things happen to those people who work hard. And Omar's working his tail off.
When you recruited him out of the portal, did you think that his potential was this high, or did you think you were getting a more ready product out of a Power 5 conference? Did you kind of know that there was more to go here with him?
Yeah, we felt like that we knew he was going to be a really good roller and a guy who could play in ball screens. And we thought that we were getting a guy that defensively was everything that he's been advertised to be: a shot blocker, a guy who could move his feet. And it was just a matter of him getting dialed into what we do, because we guarded ball screens differently than he had in the past. So, he's made the natural maturation, and I'm excited about him and what he's given us, and excited about his future.
Thank you, Brad.
Hey, Coach, over the last 2 seasons and to the start of this one, you guys have had the best record in the Big Ten on the road, as well as just wins in general. But what is it about your team that's been so good on the road?
Well, I think there's a formula there. I hope that is. I think it's been good rebounding, and then assignment of sound defense. That's the one thing that travels is what you do, and with your effort on the defensive side and your ability to rebound. Offense doesn't always travel. We saw that the other night, even at home. We were 8 of 30 from the three and had some good looks. There's always a challenge in this league. This league's the toughest place to play. Nebraska is no different. They're going to have a sellout crowd. They got radical fans and a good basketball team. And again, it was a game that, we had to go to overtime last year to win. So, there's a challenge in everything, but I think the defense and rebounding are the keys for us.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the difference or the improvement that you have defensively when Omar's on the floor instead of Kofi. You seem to use them a little bit differently defensively. In terms of preparing that, how did you guys come across the idea to have them defend differently?
Well, I think the one thing is their body types are different. Omar's pretty quick twitch. Kofi's, pretty brute strength and physical. He's a wall. We did the same things defensively last year with Georgie. Georgie was more of a 3/4 of the post front, get around, and Kofi's more of a guy that's kind of an anchor behind you. And we're doing some of those same things with Kofi just because of mobility, or with Omar because of mobility.
And then you can see the defensive tools that Omar has in the minutes that he gets, but one area that he seems to be struggling is just getting called for fouls. How do you guys go about improving that so he can play longer stretches, so he can impact you more defensively?
Yeah, that's just comfort. You see that with a lot of young guys. You see that with a lot of guys that are inexperienced, and he comes in, he's playing hard. He's trying to be aggressive. He's trying to do what we ask. And sometimes that's a little too much aggression. So we've just got to keep working with that, and we need him. And he's been very, very good when when we can keep him out of foul trouble.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach, you had to go 10.5 minutes without Kofi in the first half against Maryland and had a tough stretch offensively. I know he hasn't been in that kind of foul trouble all that much, but anything you took away from that, or trying to prepare for those moments in case they do come forward as you go along?
Yeah, I got to do a better job. I've got to make sure we got lineups that have balance. We've got to make sure that we're running the right stuff, the right actions. We've got to play to some different things. I didn't do a very good job in that sequence. That sequence was magnified by the fact that we made 4 or 5 defensive mistakes as well. We got a little out of character on that end, which is probably more upsetting to me than what we did on the offensive end. But again, I've got to get guys, and Jake missed a couple good shots in there. Trent missed a couple good ones. But I've got to do a better job of running offense, and then we've got to play in flow when we don't have Kofi. And we got a little bit sped up with that and trying to take shots too quick and maybe, try to hit a home run on every possession instead of just running good offense.
Thanks.
Brad, I understand that it's January 10th. There's still a lot of basketball left, but also at the same time, it's January 10th and tomorrow marks about the halfway season of your point overall. Is there a point where it's getting too late for Andre Curbelo to come back this season, or are you willing to play him however many games are left if he gets to that?
We'll play him however many games are left, and we'll evaluate that based on, again, his everything we're doing right now, Brett, is to get him back on the court as soon as he can get back on the court. He's pushing towards that. And until there's something more concrete or different, we won't approach it any other way.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm going to put you on standby for a minute. I'll be back with Omar when we're ready.